Women who are also falling into the category of desperation, which is also another energy signature that will attract narcissistic men, okay? Desperation is a key element to attracting narcissistic men. So desperation, insecurity, not feeling confident, not feeling like you can be your authentic self as a woman and stand on business, that's literally what like open door for narcissists. Peace and prosperity. Welcome back to Earth's Feminine. If you are new here, this is a channel where you can come and learn all about primal feminine energy, the feminine energy that existed pre-colonization, and all of the conditioning around what we now believe it means to be a woman. My name is Asaya Mystic, and today we're going to be talking about how to protect yourself from narcissistic men as a woman. I've talked about narcissism before on this channel. I went into it a lot deeper as to how it relates to men in my understanding healthy masculinity video. When I touched on masculinity in that video and its relationship to narcissism, I feel like I could have really expounded on it and went deeper into the subject. So that's basically what I would like to do in this video, as well as give women some tips on really understanding the manipulation, some of the key things that men who are narcissistic will say to you to try to manipulate you into basically going along with what they want, or, you know, chipping away at your self-esteem, at your self-worth, and basically just leeching onto you like, you know, a vampire. First and foremost, from my previous video, we know that narcissism is a solar aspect of masculine energy. So again, if you want to go deeper into that, you can watch that video and then hop back onto this one. Narcissism, and the way that I have described it, is like this disconnection that the sun has to the earth. So the sun is the father masculine energy, right? And the earth is the mother feminine energy. And the earth and the sun have this symbiotic relationship. And when men are insecure, when men suffer from insecurities, they will typically tend to have a lot of narcissistic traits, if not have the full-blown disorder of narcissistic personality disorder. So a lot of men are insecure in 2024. And so a lot of men tend to exhibit narcissistic traits in their relationships with women. For me, in my personal journey, I have attracted a handful of covert narcissists in my relationships. These are men that you typically don't see or think that they are narcissists, but when you dig deep behind whatever nice guy for the people facade that they're wearing, you realize that this person is deeply, deeply insecure. They're deeply, deeply suffering from narcissism. You as a woman can thwart, right, your attraction of these types of men through being more authentic, right? Living your life authentically true to who you are. Through you being confident in yourself, through you not needing anybody to really validate who you are as a woman, what you believe you deserve as a woman, and standing firm in that, right? So this is real queen energy, all right? Big queen energy that definitely is like a narcissist repellent. These are some of the things that I have heard men say over the course of my dating experience, right? And after a while, I started to feel like when I would be dating different men, I would feel like I was hearing the same things being said by different men, right? And I'm like, why are y'all all saying the same things? It's like, why are y'all all have this same languaging? It's so weird. And other men that I would date that to me would not be insecure, that would be very secure within themselves and not be trying to manipulate me into getting me to do things I didn't want to do, they would not say certain things. So here I am going to be mentioning all the things that men who are narcissistic will say to women to try to manipulate them, to get them to do things that you wouldn't normally do, to fold on your boundaries, to, you know, rewire you into thinking that you're actually the problem, where really it's that man's own insecurities that he's projecting onto you. So the first thing that I hear a lot of men who have narcissistic traits say is they use this verbiage of you're not being reciprocal, right? So say you are requiring a man or asking a man to deliver on something that you feel like as a woman is a prerequisite to you spending your time with this man, to you emotionally investing in this man, right? For example, you might have boundaries around, you know, what your first date looks like. Okay, for me, I have a few boundaries that I'll share with you all, which is, you know, if I need anything in order to show up to a date with a man, I am going to present those needs to him. And if he can fulfill those needs, great, then I will go out on the date with him. If he cannot fulfill those needs, then I just won't go out on the date. It's nothing like, no pun intended, like, no, oh, there's something wrong with you because you can't fulfill my needs for the date. It's just like, no, I just can't go out on the date because this is what I need to make it to the date from the man that is courting me, right? So that's my boundary, is that I need a man to fulfill my need, whatever my needs are, to be able to show up to the date feeling my good, like my best self, for him to fulfill them in some way, in whatever way he can fulfill them. So that may look like, you know, if I can't drive or I don't feel like driving or whatever like that, that he offered to pick me up or Uber me or whatever to the date. My boundary can even be that I don't want to be picked up by you personally. If it's a first date, I would rather you Uber me, right? So that's a thing, right? That's an example of a need or a requirement. So typically, right, if you present your need or requirement, right, they will somehow say to you, well, what are you doing for me to give you that, you know, to meet on the date or whatever like that? What are you doing? So there's this verbiage of, and it doesn't have to be a first date. That was just an example. It can be well into the relationship and you are requiring something and they come up with this language of, well, are you being reciprocal? Like, are you being reciprocal? I hear this one with a lot of spiritual men. Where's the reciprocity? You know, where's the reciprocity? I don't feel like you're being, there's reciprocity here. You know, it's just another way for a man to say, you know, we're equals. We're equals. And you should be showing up in the same way that I have to show up in the relationships, which means, right, that he believes that you should be the one to provide and not put him to any standards towards providing, which also can look like him, like, say this man has given or provided or whatever like that, but it's been on his terms, right? It's been because he wants to. It's been because, oh, this is just something that I want to do. It's like not something that you're like a standard, right? So when you actually put forth your standards, this man starts to feel like, well, what are you doing, right? And some women have broken this down and tried to rationalize it. I've heard, some video clips of Mina Irfan and the Universe Guru, which I love her work and I love her teachings and I love, the progress that she's made. Any feminine coaches that I bring up, if I'm critiquing them, it is not because I'm trying to be petty or anything, but just because uniquely I see a gap in their teachings that I would like to fill. So I've heard her mention before in her videos about how when men talk like this, like, well, what are you doing? Or what are you bringing to the table? She says it's because you've activated some conserve or preserve energy in a man. I'm pretty sure I'm not saying it accurately, but basically there's like this conserve energy switch in men, and that you can activate it if you present the things that you need in a certain way. But my philosophy is women are held to so many different standards in the way that we show up and how we do things and the way that we look. When a man is raised knowing and understanding and respecting, keyword respecting, that a woman has standards that he's going to have to live up to if he wants to court or be with that woman, I think it should be a no-brainer, and there should never have there be this language of, well, what are you doing for me? You're supposed to be my reciprocal. We're supposed to be equal, okay? That comes off as very narcissistic. It becomes this conversation and this language that around, you somehow being morally unjust, you somehow being unequal to him, or operating in this inequality towards him because you are requiring him to show up like a man and court you like a man should court a woman. So that is manipulation, and that is one of the key things that I hear men say, typically men who haven't accepted themselves fully as a provider. The next thing that I hear men say, and it sounds a little bit like this when you're in conversation with them. Say you're talking to them and you don't agree with something that they're saying that you should agree with or you should be on board with, right? So basically y'all are having some kind of disagreement about something, and he starts getting frustrated with the fact that you are not agreeing with whatever it is that he wants you to agree with. He wants you to be on board with, right? I am a very spirited woman, okay? And I'm very intelligent, so it's not really easy. Like, I'm not a easy person to just be like, oh yeah, I agree with that, if I don't agree with it. I typically know where I stand with things, and so men who are narcissistic don't like spirited women. Men who are narcissistic want you to be a people pleaser in the way that they are a people pleaser. They want you to fold into what they think because that's what they do for other people. So one of the most common like things that a man says or start to say to a woman who is spirited and doesn't easily agree with them is that she is not listening to them, or she is closed-minded. You could be having a conversation, right? Back and forth conversation, and all of a sudden this man starts being like, you're not listening to me. You're not listening, right? He starts to get really frustrated, and you're like, hold up. Like, I don't even have to talk to you. So yeah, let's get that one together. Like, I don't even have to be talking to you right now. So just the fact that you get irate and frustrated shows your entitlement towards me even giving you my attention and talking to you. I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to be present in the conversation. I can go and be living my merry life without being stressed out about what you think I should be doing or what you think I should be agreeing with. So I did a whole spiel about this in two of my other videos, which is how, number one, this channel is not for the patriarchy. This channel is not for patriarchal men or patriarchal thinking. So don't come to my channel expecting any of that. Number two, when men feel entitled to your energy, that's typically what they start to act like when you don't agree with them. So that is another sign or trait of coming across a man who is deeply insecure and has narcissistic tendencies. So another thing that I hear men saying that definitely is used to manipulate women is whenever you start to communicate, well, even you, honestly, you don't even have to communicate with men, but to communicate with a man on this, sometimes men are just so emotionally traumatized or insecure by life in relationships that they will start talking about hypothetical women when they're in a relationship with you, about how women don't know how to follow, how women don't know how to receive, right? Or they might even direct it towards you and be like, they might say, women want men to lead, but do you, right? They'll be general about it at first, but do you know how to follow? Do you know how to receive? And this is a classic way that insecure men try to deflect their responsibility as a leader in the relationship onto women. This is classic, right? And another type of language that falls into this is, well, people are always talking about what men should do, but what about women? What about women? What are women supposed to do? So any man that wants to focus on what women are supposed to be doing in a relationship with him is a man that has narcissistic traits, and he is deeply insecure, because the reality is leaders do not need people to be good followers or good receivers in order for them to be good leaders. Leaders are just good leaders. It's just like when you are a mother, right? And you are teaching your child. My child is not a bad learner, right? Because she's not learning from me. That makes me ignorant of how to correctly teach my child. My child is unique. My child is her own energy, her own essence. It's the same thing for women in a relationship with men. Women are their own energy, their own essence. You can't lead every woman the same way. You can't give to every woman the same way and expect her to receive it in the same way another woman would receive it, or another woman would receive it. This is why it's so important for men to activate their sun energy, their solar masculine energy, because then they know how to connect to their heart. They know how to lead from their heart. The heart is a very powerful organ in the body. The heart is our electromagnetic center. This is where we attract literally everything into our environment. And this is also how we connect to every living being and entity on the planet. All right. Y'all know that I'm an astrologer. Okay. So we all know that Leo is the king. Leo represents the king. And Leo represents the heart. The heart is what connects to all things on this planet. And this is why Leo is the ruler of all things on this planet, because he is connected to all things on this planet. Okay. He can feel what other things feel. And somebody that's connected to their heart, so if they see something that they know in their heart is not right, right? You could be watching something happen across the street and you to somebody you don't even know, and it just makes your heart, do something like, oh my gosh, my heart's jumping out. And people who listen to their heart, people who are in tune with their heart, they will stop whatever they're doing, jump out of their car, pull over, and go help that person. Go be a force to connect and bring love into the situation. So whenever men talk like this, right, of you want me to do this, but you are not a good follower, you are not a good receiver, it's because this man just simply wants to shift the blame onto you for him not being a good leader, not knowing how to lead, not knowing how to give to the woman that he is trying to lead or give to. Hey beautifuls, so before we go deeper into this video, I have a quick little self promo and interjection. I want to make sure that you all know I have an upcoming mistress class called I Am Earth. So this mistress class was scheduled back in January, but I have rescheduled it to be at the beginning of the spring equinox. This mistress class is going to be all about re-earthing women into the truth of who they are so that they can live life in alignment with their natural feminine energy. This is going to be unveiling misogynistic beliefs that we have come to adopt about ourselves, that has potentially previously created relationship dynamics within our intimate life, within our health, within our finances, that are holding us back from experiencing optimal pleasure in life. So this mistress class is all about reclaiming pleasure as something that is ours to receive, to experience in all of these different areas of health, finance, and relationships. So if you are ready to skyrocket these areas of your life come spring of 2024, then make sure you sign up for the I Am Earth Mistress class. The prices are currently on sale, so make sure you get the discounted price before it goes up. And yeah, we can get right back into the video. All right, so the next thing men say to basically, insecure men say to manipulate you into doing what they want you to do or chipping away at your self-esteem is they will mention how much better your connection will be if you had sex with them. Okay, how much more profound your connection would be if you had sex. What they'll be doing is they just want to like make it seem like if you have sex with them, the relationship will get better. He will start doing more. Like they start to just buff up the relationship if you were to be intimate with him. This is a classic line that I'm sure a lot of women have heard, but this is basically a man's way of trying to get you to think about sleeping with him basically before he has really showed up in a way that created that trust and respect to get you to surrender to him naturally, right? So this is another form of manipulation that men use of like, oh yeah, this is gonna make life so much better or relationships so much better. It's gonna be so much better, right? If we do the nasty. So don't fall for it. Whatever boundaries that you have around intimacy, around exchanging your body with a man, for me, those boundaries are marriage. So being in a committed sacred union with a man should be the boundary for every woman in doing something as intimate as that. But I know for some women, your boundaries are just going to be different. Your life, your desires are different. So, but I do recommend that every woman have very high standards and high boundaries around what it takes for a man to be able to receive your your potent sacral sexual energy. One of the last things that men will say to try to manipulate women into basically lowering her standards, and this is, I just don't want to be taken advantage of. I just don't want to get hurt, right? If you are wanting commitment, if you are wanting to be provided for on a certain level, if you are wanting a certain level of energy from him, a lot of men who will try to manipulate you will say, "Yeah, I've been taken advantage of before in the past, and how do I know that you're not going to take advantage of me?" Right? So another thing that insecure men will do that goes in line with this is they will drag women along, basically try to get the woman to make more effort into the relationship, into them, by breadcrumbing her, by making promises and then not fulfilling them, by saying they're gonna show up, right? Getting her all excited and like when he does show up, it's great, right? But when he's gone, right? He's gone, and he's doing that purposefully, right? He's like breadcrumbing you purposefully because he knows the emotional roller coaster that is putting you through, and how much of an emotional investment a woman will typically put into a man who is putting her through all being breadcrumbed, right? Women who are also falling into the category of desperation, which is also another energy signature that will attract narcissistic men, okay? Desperation is a key element to attracting narcissistic men. So desperation, insecurity, not feeling confident, not feeling like you can be your authentic self as a woman and stand on business, that's literally what like open door for narcissists. So if you are desperate and you fall into those breadcrumbings, you get attached to the little bits and pieces that he does give you, and you listen to what he says because when it's good, right? So you're holding on to when it's good and ignoring with all the broken promises, all of the not showing up for you, all of the other things, right? That clearly communicates this man he's not fully there, okay? Insecure men will do this to try to get you to prove to him or satiate his insecurities, right? Another good example of this is, I don't know if any of you watch Netflix's Singles Inferno, which is like a Korean dating show on Netflix. I know I watch it. I like to watch a lot of love stories and love stuff. So Singles Inferno was definitely like one that I thought was super cute because for those of you that know me, I definitely have an affinity and appreciation for how Asian cultures depict love and romance a lot more than how the Western world depicts love and romance. That could be a whole nother video though, so I'm not going to delve into that. But in the recent season 3, there was a contestant, Guan Hee, okay? Guan Hee stole the show on Singles Inferno, and he stole the show because he was the most insecure guy on the show, right? He was like battling with this confidence and insecurity, and he was clearly like, the women could see that he was insecure. So he was attracting on the show women that were enjoying the roller coaster, right? I can't remember the names of the other women on the show, but the other women, he was like actually all of the women, he put them through a roller coaster, right? of ups and downs and emotionals and the ups and downs is because he was breadcrumbing essentially all of them and was not fully investing in any one of them. Like he just couldn't make up his mind. And there was one woman, right, who didn't fall into the energy of desperation, right? I think her name was Hey Sun. So she was the one who ultimately ended up leaving Singles Inferno with Guan He. He ended up choosing her because she was the only one out of all of those women who did not cave in to the energy of desperation. Okay, she was like, player, if you want me, you better figure it out or I'm dipping, right? If you want me, you better show me you want me or I'm done. I'm good. I don't need you. Okay? So she showed up with that energy like last minute at the end of the season, and then she went quickly shifted into her feminine self. But you could see how that still took a toll on her emotionally because in the last episode when they all had this like fire around like fire pit gathering, she actually started to share her a little bit of her experience, and she was like just saying how she was grateful, right, for the experience. But then the other castmates were asking her, well, did you have a good time? Did anybody make your heart flutter? Did any of these things happen? And she was just like, nope, it didn't happen. And we could all see the emotion in her of how she felt really kind of like she was grateful, but at the same time, she felt, how Guan He basically was toying with her. If nobody else will say it, I will say it. Like she felt that. And it came out at the fire pit. And that is essentially why she started crying the way she did. If you are intuitive, you will know that and sense that. And Guan He felt that energy. He knew he was guilty in that moment. And he started crying with her. And I'm promised that was like one of the best seasons because his character honestly evolved from that experience, from what I could tell. It really did seem like he evolved from that. And from her crying, he was able to really see the damage that he had done, right? There were other women that really got upset and that were crying about his behavior towards him on the show, but it didn't sit with him or it didn't affect him as much because those women were falling into the desperation. They were falling into his desperation and they started pleading for him almost. It was like a pleading for him. And that is why that impacted him the way he did, and he ended up choosing her at the end. That is what men who are insecure, who have narcissistic traits, that's what they will do. And they will play this victim game of, well, I don't want to be hurt or I don't want to be taken advantage of. So this is why I'm breadcrumbing you. This is why I'm not making a decision, and all these things. Meanwhile, it's causing you to overexert yourself as a woman and feel like, oh, I have to prove myself to him. I've got to show up more. I've got to show him that how I feel about him so he doesn't feel insecure or scared, right? And so you end up investing more into the relationship emotionally than he ever invested in you. And what this does is just sets up like the stage for an imbalance in the relationship. And typically what ends up happening is the man will either see that and then he'll feel comfortable with progressing with the relationship with you, but he will still be narcissistic. He will still have other elements of narcissistic traits and narcissistic behavior. It's not going to go away, right? So that's why I'm like, pray for Hey Sun. Pray for Hey Sun, because we don't know. I don't think they're still together from the looks of it, but because it is reality TV. But typically, like, those things don't go away, those traits don't go away unless this man literally does inner work and goes to therapy and works on his self-esteem and his level of confidence. Confidence isn't something that you just look in the mirror and be like, I'm gonna be confident today. You could try it that way, affirmations and stuff like that, but being proud of yourself, be feeling good about yourself comes with a level of power that you possess. Power that has to do with your level of self-possession. Power that has to do with your knowing and connection to source, to God, to the omnipotent, powerful, all-being energy, right? And when you're tapped in and tuned into true power, you will never be insecure. You will never exhibit insecurities about anything because you know where you come from. This is why also, I talked about in my magnetism video how tapping into your magnetism and attraction as a woman has a lot to do with knowing your ancestry, knowing where you come from, realizing that you come from a powerful and magnificent bloodline, powerful and magnificent people. And that's something that as Afro-Indigenous people, we've had to activate, or go on the journey of activating. If you haven't already done that, I highly suggest that you do that, right? And, there's so many different ways that you can do it. Having and growing out your natural hair is one of the biggest ways I've been able to do it. Referencing Guan He and Singles Inferno, the 3rd season of that show, one of the things that Guan He did, because a lot of people, if not everybody who was watching when the series came out, said that Guan He was a narcissist and he had a lot of narcissistic traits, which is accurate. He did. But there's one thing that goes in alignment with what I was just saying about what he specifically would tell the women that he was breadcrumbing and that he was like stringing along, was that he would say specifically, well, I don't know if you like me or not. I'm not sure if you like me. The other woman over here is valid. Like she told me she liked me. Like she was clear about liking me. So I think that that's important, and I'm gonna bring it up as another thing that men who are really insecure will say to you, is they will say to you, well, I don't know that you like me. How was I supposed to know that you like me? Or, there's nothing really telling me that you like me, right? And you could be literally doing all the things. You could even straight up tell him that you like him and be doing all the things, and he will still think somewhere in his mind that you're trying to play him, or you're not really interested in him, or something like that. So that is another thing that insecure men tend to say, I'm not sure if you like me or not. And with that, they try to like bait you into basically proving your love to them. So this is going to be the last thing that I hear men say to try to, it's like a subtle manipulation. I don't even understand why they do this, but they do it in different ways, okay? I'm lying. I do understand why they say it. That's why I'm making this video. But I'm saying I don't understand because it's like, why? Like, why? Like, it's so silly to me, because at this point in my journey, I can see the intention behind it so clearly. And I'm just like, yeah, not happening over here. So, last thing that men who are subtly trying to manipulate you tend to say to you, I love an independent woman. Or it can be along the lines of like, maybe he's not saying specifically that he loves an independent woman, but maybe he's like referencing you as an independent woman without you ever telling him what you do for a living, what your lifestyle. Even if he does know these things, he doesn't like it. There has been no cohesive agreement that you're an independent woman. But some men will say this, right? To one, either try to manipulate you subconsciously to think of yourself as independent of him. Two, it's something that he has learned from his environment or his community or his society, that women want to be independent, because some men, you know, that are raised by like super uber feminists or with this super uber feminist mindsets will assume that a woman will want to be seen as independent and want to be seen as strong and all these things. So sometimes it can be innocent, right? It can be innocent because they just think that that's what you want to hear. But for other times, this is definitely a way that a man tries to get you to think of yourself in a certain way. Or he'll even say, right, like, I really, I don't know if I said this earlier, but I really like independent women. I love an independent woman. That's the kind of woman I like, right? So it's also like trying to get you to think that, oh, if I be the kind of woman he likes, then he'll pursue me more or whatever like that. It is nothing but manipulation for a man to tell you that in that way, because essentially he doesn't want to have to take care of you. He doesn't want to have to be responsible for you. He doesn't want to have to provide for you. And the reality is, why are you courting a woman? Why are you looking for a wife? What are you looking for? Because if you want a family, a woman is something you got to be responsible for. Is someone you must be responsible for. The children she has, something you must be responsible for. So men who don't really want the full responsibility of that, and again, I talked about the fear of responsibility and the by any means necessary energy also in my healthy masculinity video, to go into further depth into that, so you can go and check out more of that there. But yeah, this is just, it's another way for a man to basically try and manipulate you. This has been my video on how to protect yourself as a woman from narcissistic men, the things that, through understanding the subtle things that men say to you, the language that they have towards you to try to get you to think a certain way about yourself and about the relationship, to try to get you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do, become someone you wouldn't otherwise be if they were actually love you for who you are and whatever it is that you desire, whoever it is that you desire to be. All right, my loves, let me know what you all thought about this video in the comments down below. What are your questions? What do you think about the thought processes and the things that men say that I've shared down below? Has there been any men in your life that has said any of these things to you? Now that you're aware of these things that men say and the consciousness around women who attract these kinds of men, what would you say that you would change? How would you say that you would embody a more confident, a more self-assured version of yourself? You can even comment down below some of your rebuttals or things that you would say in response to these things that men say in the comments down below. I would actually really love to see what y'all would actually say in response to these things that men try to say to manipulate you. That would be very entertaining for me. So thank y'all so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. I will catch you all in my next video. Peace.